Hello and welcome to today's Daily Rift. I'm Stormo and we will see what we get in terms of our loot today. I'm going to try and sound a bit less lazy than I did yesterday. I listened back to the first two videos I made and I sounded really like I was either really tired or really out of it. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more energetic with the way I speak today. That said, I'm also trying to concentrate in the game, so if I slow down for whatever reason, that's most likely why. It's an interesting rift. Where are we going here? There we go. You might notice if you're watching these videos in sequence, and I really don't recommend doing that. These videos are more intended to be watched whenever you feel like it. Just pull one out and watch it. There's no storyline here. I'm just doing random rifts and rabbiting on over the top of them. So, in the vain hope that you might find that entertaining to watch. Anyway, as I was saying before I got on that tangent, wallers. I hate wallers. As I was saying, you might notice that my character has advanced a little bit since the previous video. That's because I was doing some other stuff with her, just running a couple of bounties, and picking up a few. That's what I'm still forgetting to do that thing with. Okay, we died. Anyway, as I was saying, my character has advanced a bit. I've been doing some bounties. I don't really want for rift keys. I've got more than enough rift keys to make, like, I don't know, several hundred episodes of this. Assuming I do every episode of this rift. I also have a number of greater rift keys. Not entirely sure I'm going to be doing greater rifts as part of this program, primarily because I prefer regular rifts to greater rifts. Greater rifts are fun, and I appreciate the rewards they give me. I have a fair number of the legendary gems that you can get off the greater rifts, and ranking them up is really important because getting them to that, particularly to rank 25, where they gain the second part of their function, is really important. However, I generally just find greater rifts less interesting to run because I think partly because you just don't get any loot and it's just kill, kill, kill all the way to the end. And that can be kind of fun in itself, and you are guaranteed essentially at least one legendary item out of it at the end of the run. Yes, let's start getting marked for death up on these things. Yeah, and at the end of each run. And I think that's really important to have those, especially if you're going to be starting to move up to Torment 6, which you'll also notice that I haven't yet done. I had a go at Torment 6 on this character yesterday, just in case I was wrong about her not being ready for it, and I got wiped out pretty badly immediately. One thing that does bother me in this game is when I die. So I don't like playing hardcore, primarily because I'm not good enough really to stay alive, particularly at higher difficulty levels. But also I tend to play a fairly sort of aggressive manner, which does tend to lead me to dying. I tend not to prioritise healing or toughness over damage, which is probably not so bad on a demon hunter, but can be a little bit more difficult with a wizard, which is just that much more fragile than a demon hunter is. So I sometimes play a monk as well, and I have a crusader that I sometimes play, but I prefer the ranged attackers, primarily because I just find it a little bit more interesting. And I've always sort of had a preference for ranged attacks in any game I play. I main a hunter in World of Warcraft. My character in Elder Scrolls Online is a heavily bow-based Nightblade, I believe. The sort of roguish class. Classes in Elder Scrolls Online are weird because there's only like 4 of them, but you can do a lot within each class, very open-ended, how you can customize those classes. Are we coming back around? We are coming back around. Okay, I need to go this way, I think. Looks like the game has remembered my volume settings from the last time I recorded, so that's good. Channeling pylon, that'll be good. If I can find some monsters. Here we go. Okay, let's just throw down. Channeling pylon's great because I can just spam that. I can spam that. My mechanical keyboard is quite loud. I think I mentioned yesterday I have a Orion Spark Logitech G910. It's a really nice keyboard, and I really like being able to have the buttons change colour when I press them, which is how I have it set. I could use zones or whatever else the individual software sets up, but I just like, I have this really nice deep blue, and whenever I press the button it changes to green. as though it's some kind of device from the future. So I really like that. Let's see, what are we doing here? Ah, hello, die. This might be one of those rifts where we only get through one level before we meet the Rift Guardian. I've always been a little bit torn on, with regular Nephilim rifts, whether or not to complete them all the way through after beating the Rift Guardian, or just finish there and go on to the next rift. Generally I beat the Rift Guardian and finish there, but I've never 100% known if that's the right thing to do. I sort of like how in greater rifts, once you get to the Rift Guardian, all the monsters despawn. Even the ones you're currently fighting basically just instantly die. And I sort of wish that would happen in regular rifts. I mean, I can understand why it doesn't, because I think Blizzard want the possibility of being able to play through to the end of the rift. But in general, I just feel like once you've beaten the Rift Guardian, if you keep going through the rift, you're sort of just playing post-game content, I guess. And it doesn't seem like it would be very interesting. So, looks like we've got some Nephilim glory up, which is good. I don't remember picking up. Oh yeah, I did pick up an orb just before, didn't I? Yeah, that's right, I remember now. So, sometimes I'm focusing... I'm still not getting Marked for Death up as often as I should. I'm focusing on laying my sentries down and forgetting about Marked for Death. I think I mentioned in one of the previous videos that I've only recently switched to using Marked for Death from using Vengeance, and I like Marked for Death a little bit better because it's not a long cooldown. But I haven't yet gotten into the habit of using the 4 key as much. I have it assigned to the 4 key. The other one I could probably think about replacing is Smoke Screen, and I'm sort of considering switching that out for Vault. But I don't know for sure yet if I'm going to actually do that, because Smoke Screen, I have it with the Healing Vapors Rune, and it heals about 15% of your health. It's a nice little quick heal in situations where you need to be able to get a little bit of health. I mean, it's probably not going to prevent you from dying in a lot of cases, but every so often it'll get you out of trouble, because it doesn't just heal you, it de-aggroes all the enemies. Here we go, level 2. Sorry about that, I had to burp and take a glass of water. I'm sure you really wanted to know that. Okay, so, where are we? We are in another level that looks much like the previous level. One of my favourite things about playing Frost attacks like this is the way when you kill enemies, when you kill them with a critical hit, they explode into those chunks of frozen demon meat, I suppose it is. I don't want to think about the wider implications of demon meat, but yeah, let's just say that they explode into those kind of chunks. So the good news is we're not dying as much anymore. Like, this could be risky if I'm not careful. Let's do that. There we go. I need to get a little bit better at sentry positioning as well, I feel. There we go. Getting a couple of sentries up on a choke point like that's really handy, because it just locks the enemies down beautifully. So, let's see, my sentries, I think I have a piece of gear that's giving my sentries additional time to live. They last around about a minute. They're supposed to last 30 seconds, they last around about a minute, and I think that's coming from one of my gear bonuses. I'm not entirely sure. I looked at it the other day, I was like, why are my sentries lasting so long? And it's like, oh, it's from some kind of piece of gear. So yeah, if you're wondering why I'm getting 5 sentries up, that's because I have the, I've forgotten the name of it, the rucksack quiver. That gives you 2 extra sentries, and I have custom engineering, which gives an extra sentry, so that's why I can get 5 up. So this is a fairly heavily reliant on sentries build. And of course I'm using the Polar Station rune just for that control that it gives me. And yes, I am using Cold Weak as a passive. So I do have the 20% bonus damage to slowed or frozen enemies, which is really nice. And if I get Mark for Death up, I'd have another 20% damage, but I always forget it. There we go, it's spreading. Mark for Death with the Contagion rune, as I've already mentioned in a previous video. So, yeah. I did get doing bounties yesterday, I did end up getting, I think it's Mara's Kaleidoscope, the one that provides, the amulet that provides poison immunity. So I have one of those, but I haven't got it equipped because it didn't roll as nicely as my current amulet, which is it's one of the set amulets that I've got the name of. But yeah, it didn't roll as nicely as that, so that's why I'm not got it equipped. But if I had it equipped, this boss would be a lot easier than he already is. So let's get that turret up. Let's get that out. I'll just pop smoke screen just to burn off some of the discipline that I've got built up. I don't use discipline enough, really. My build traditionally was a build that didn't actually use discipline almost at all. Outside of smokescreen, because the latest patch has actually changed smokescreen, so it has a very short cooldown now. You can't just spam it. Primarily because one of the strategies with the previous version of smokescreen was that you would spam it out and get a massive boost in healing. I didn't get anything interesting out of that, did I? No. Well, so that's all we got. Anyway, this has been a daily rift, and I will be back tomorrow with another one.